Hey, how's it going? Jason here, and in this episode we're going to be talking about this San Jose Juniper I have right here. We're going to repot it into this guy right here. Alright, so the first thing I need to do is remove the can and get this tree out of here. And to do that, I may have to cut the plastic can right here just so I can get to the roots. Okay, so a little trick you can do is you can smash the can with your fists and loosen up the soil a little bit on the sides. And then what should happen is you should be able to pull this tree out if we can, as long as it isn't root bound. All right, so I got that out. Looks like I got a lot of weeds. I use the old can as a trash can to throw all the old weeds in there. And now that I've got the tree out of the can, I'm going to reduce this root ball, or at least reduce all the soil out of here, get probably 3/4 of the soil, remove it, because I need to fit it into this pot right here. And here's where we're going to have a lot of soil. So you can see that half of this, almost 3/4 of this, is unnecessary. And if I do, I may have to pull a saw out, but the first thing I can do is just loosen it with the stick. Okay, so we're just going to loosen this right here. You can kind of see the roots are coming out. You don't want to tear away, but sometimes you have to. A lot of these roots we're not going to use. So just rotate the tree. Loosen this up. There, you can start to see it break down or break away. And just kind of gently spread the roots out. You know, try not to tear it too much. The first goal is to get the top half of this out. Right here, you want to get the top half right basically from here on up. Then we can work on some more detailed work to get this to fit the pot. So right around here, I can see that I've got some roots I need to cut. So I bring out my shear that I like to use for this work. You know, this is the shear that I actually cleaned in the last video, the one that I abuse. So I'm going to continue abusing it some more. I'm going to trim off some of these longer roots. Now, I don't feel like there's a taproot that I need to be concerned about right now. So I can go ahead and get some of these hair roots, some of these thicker ones. Just kind of cut that off. So we're still going to trim a lot of roots, but the first thing you want to do is just get that big mass out of here. So now I've got all the soil. Use my can that I had and just throw it all in there. Okay, so now you can see that I've got this pot right here. I've got to get this tree right here into this guy. So it's right before spring right now, which makes it a great time to do all your repotting. So the first thing you need to do is prepare your pot. You know, I probably should have done that before I did this to the roots, but since I haven't removed that many roots yet, it's not too big a deal. But typically you want to prepare the pot first, so that when you're ready to put the tree into the pot and you get rid of all the roots and you reduce it, you can go straight in there without having to kind of delay yourself by preparing it. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get some drainage screens, and then I'm going to fish all the wire through here. And then you guys have seen this before. So I've got one, just got a little square, pretty big square. I've only got one drainage hole in this one. So I'm going to do a square there. I've got my wire here. So I'm going to first do the little loops. Okay, so this one's got a triangle on the bottom, it's got 3 holes, so I'm going to use that so I can get as many anchor points as I can. Just gotta remember which ones are together. So it's gonna be these guys together right here, and we'll do those together. And these guys together, these ones, and then those ones together. So that way I know exactly which ones go together. Okay, so I'm gonna put a little mound of soil in here. Okay, put a little mound of soil here. I've got my akadama mix. You know, if you really want to make it nice, you could do a base layer here of something thicker. You can use Huga, you can use some larger scoria just on the bottom layer so that it never compacts on the bottom. But the lava mixture I have here, this blend of Akadama lava, never really comes back too bad, so I'm not too worried about that. Okay, so now I can set this aside. I got the little mound in there. I don't want to tip it too much, but you guys can see it. So now I'm going to still try to get all these weeds out of here, and I'm going to gently tear away the soil here. Okay, it looks like on this juniper there isn't any taproot I need to really be concerned about. Nothing really under here that I need to cut. I even have to use a saw for. So it's got tons of roots on the outside here. I'm just going to spread them out. Okay, so if you guys remember, originally the tree was actually sitting like this in the can, and we're going to position it like this in the new pot. So we have to make sure that when we remove the soil, we need to remove a little bit more on the section that's above the surface of the pot. So right around here, I gotta get this a little bit flatter, but I've got so many roots underneath it right here that I really don't have to worry even if I lose some roots right here. So I'm gonna take my shears and I'm gonna trim those off. Now the good thing about this tree is that it has so many roots, I'm not really concerned about it having any issue in the new pot. Even though the pot is smaller, right here, you can see the pot is smaller, there's still plenty of roots that we can keep when we put it in there. So you can see this part, I'm reducing a lot more because it's going to be sitting a little bit above there, these guys. And what's going to happen is just that the roots will grow on the bottom where the soil is, and the tree will adjust. Oh, that's looking pretty good. Okay, so now we'll just do a test. Okay, so it sits in there really nice to see how low I can get this. And I have that mound that I put, so now I can smush it in the mound. The reason that we have that mound is that when you smush it in like this, it'll fill in those gaps that you had when you're digging away on the soil underneath. Yeah, this is looking pretty good. So I gotta reduce a little bit on the top. Now since I smushed it, I gotta create that mound again. So when I smush it again, it's still there. So I'll remove that. And then it's right here. I've gotta make some adjustments. Right over here. So now, that's looking pretty good. I'll put this in here. Now in a round pot, you want to make sure that let me put this down really quick. When you got a round pot, just make sure that you're choosing, the center point between the legs, or you can go directly with the center point as the leg. On this one, I kind of like it between the legs, so I'm going to choose the front right there. Nice. Okay, so I spread out the roots to the side so I can fit those back in. Make sure the wire stays out. Make sure you like it. Make sure it's on the front. Tilt it. Make sure you got the right front. You don't want to do all this work just to find out you did the wrong front. And then I like to set mine, the base, so that it's a little bit more in the back part of the pot, further inside the pot. So instead of being direct center, I like to push it back a little further. That way it gives some room in the front, so it kind of frames the tree a little bit better. Okay, that's good. Oh, I like this tree. Okay, so now I put these together so I know exactly which ones go together. And now I can tie my roots. Just get these nice and set in there so I don't have to worry about those shifting. And make sure that you're always choosing the right front. So check it once in a while as you're tightening it to make sure you're not messing up the original plan. So then I've got this side, which goes with this one. Just twist. And then the last one, since I've got a triangle here, and then I'm going to pull up a little bit as I turn to make sure I don't twist it on itself, otherwise the wires will break. Okay, so you can see that we positioned it in here. I have it aligned with the front, how I like the front. You can see that because of the wire, I had those three holes to put the wire through, and I basically have 3 anchors, 1, 2, 3 on each side. This tree basically brings the entire pot with it when I bring it up. So now I know that this tree is secure to the pot, so now we need to fill in the rest of the soil. So I'm going to go ahead and fill this in a little bit on the sides, not too much. Just on the surface here. Just go that around and then use a stick, try to find those air pockets. All right, so once you're poking around and you get the angles, then you can proceed to the edges just to push all the soil toward the center of the pot. Okay, so I've got it in there. It's got the front. It's lined up with the two legs right here. So those 2 feet are sitting here. So my center's right there, which is exactly the center. It's a little offset, right? So it's a little bit slant-like. Now, I'm just going to cut off some of the surface roots. That'll go die anyways, and they look ugly, so I'm just going to trim them off. And that's basically it. Okay, so if I rotate to this, you guys can kind of see how that turned out. So if you look over here, you can see that this part's grown in a lot. The apex always grows fast, so it doesn't look as neat as it used to be. But right now, my only concern is really making sure that this survives in here, and there's a high chance of that just because I didn't remove that much soil from the root ball, and also I trimmed the roots and there wasn't any huge taproots I had to deal with. It was really just trimming the roots and getting rid of a lot of the soil. So now it's in here in a very good draining mix. So we're going to water it and then bring it back in. I forgot to mention one thing, is that you know you did a good job if you try to wiggle the trunk in here and it doesn't even budge. So if I'm trying to wiggle this, it's not budging at all. I know that's tied in here, here, and here, so I know it's not going to budge there, but even back and forth, left to right, diagonally, you know that you did a good job of filling in all the air pockets if it's not shifting at all. So I just brought it back from watering it, and when I was watering it, basically I took the nice soft spray. I took the water breaker, so it has a nice soft sort of rain-like spray, and I just kind of drenched this whole top area, let it drain out the bottom completely, so I got all the fines and all the dust out of the bottom, and then just let it sit. And then I did it again, then I did it again 5 minutes later. So I did about 3 or 4 passes on this one, and you can see that the soil is all well hydrated, and now it's completely set in here. If I try to shift it, it's not gonna move at all. And so this is ready to go. Now, in terms of aftercare, what we want to do is just put this in the shade for a little bit. I'd say maybe 1 week to 2 weeks, just in case. Most likely it's going to be fine, especially with the weather not being very hot. It's going to be fine. But if you're concerned, you can put it in the shade for 1 to 2 weeks, and that'll kind of acclimate to the, to the climate, to the temperature. And then after that, you can bring it back to where it was. If you're still concerned, you can put it into some filtered sunlight. Something with some shade cloth, 50 or 60% works fine. All right, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. It was probably less than a year that we took this from a grower's can that basically had 2 branches going from left to right. Here's the right branch, this one right here. That's now Jin, and then this was the left branch, so it was going off in 2 ways at an angle. It was sitting flat like this, and we basically chose one, styled it, and then come around, early spring, right before spring, we're potting into this pot so we can see how it will develop. All right, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments below. Otherwise, thanks for watching.